Hello, everyone. We are live here today on this beautiful day to discuss The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris. Sorry if I butchered your name, Zakiya. But if you don't know, this is the Diversity is Lit Book Club. We have a very special guest with us who's going to introduce herself a little bit later. And then we have another co-host who will be jumping in a little bit. So let us know in the comments if you're here. Also, if you're watching the replay, please let us know. And I always will give my disclaimer. We will eventually talk spoilers. So if you have not read The Other Black Girl yet, then click out of this video if you don't want to be spoiled. And then when you finish the book, then come back and watch us and join the discussion. So if you don't know me, my name is Holly Davis, also known as WriteHollyDavis. I'm a YA and middle grade fantasy writer, hoping to be traditionally published, and I am happy as always to be here. So you want to go Theresa, then Vanessa, then?
I'll go next.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm Theresa Beasley. I'm a YA contemporary and adult thriller writer, also a podcaster at A Reader's Book Corner. And I'm happy to be here discussing this book. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Arthur T.A. Beasley.
Hey everyone, I'm Vanessa. I'm a YA fantasy, paranormal, and horror writer, and also write nonfiction as well on how to create diverse characters. And I'm super excited to talk about this book.
Me too. We were all talking in, amongst ourselves, like, what is going on?
Yes.
So I know we'll have a good discussion. We always do. And so everyone is linked down below. I think everyone's Instagrams. I'm good. Hold on, let me double check. I've got it in my second monitor here. Okay, yeah, everyone is linked down below. Their Instagram, Vanessa's YouTube is linked. So please go follow everyone because they're wonderful. Oh, Lois, I totally was like skipping. Do you want to know? In my head, I was like, yeah, you introduce yourself.
I'm just a fly on the wall. Hi, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Lois Tauer. It's a pen name. My real name is Michelle. I've been on a couple of these streams in the comments as Michelle. But I am an adult horror writer, hoping to be traditionally published someday. And I'm just thrilled to be here and so excited to talk about this book too, of any book. Gosh, this book has a lot to talk about. So I'm so excited to dive in with you guys.
Oh yeah, we always have good discussions. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. So sometimes I start off with my general overall thoughts on the book. Sometimes I let other people start. I want to let other people start. So whoever wants to start. Not quite yet because Heather is here. Perfect timing. We just finished introducing everyone. We were about to jump into the first discussion question. So.
Ooh, perfect.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I'm Heather Venkat, known as Write Heather Venkat on the interwebs, and I'm an aspiring author. I write both contemporary and fantasy.
Yay. Yay, we're all here, the whole posse. So I just pretty much opened up. I wanted to hear everyone else's overall thoughts on the book first, what they rated it, what they just kind of the general thoughts.
Let's let Lois start it off.
Okay. No pressure.
Yes.
Okay. Well, and I'm excited because I recommended this book, and it was perfect timing to recommend it because I just put it on my TBR when the poll opened up. Like right before the poll opened up. So I squeezed it in like at the last minute, and I'm so excited we all voted on it. I had a blast with this book. I will say, disclaimer, I listened to this book on audiobook. And so I think my experience may be different from those of you who read it on paper, but for me, the audiobook was just excellent. There were multiple narrators for each of the characters, like the character sections in the book, which I found so engrossing. And for me, the audiobook like really put me in it. Overall, I I'd give this like a 4.5, rounded up to a 5 on my Goodreads, as I typically like to round things up on Goodreads for the authors, especially. But I thought it was really fun. I thought it's a cool one because it's really hard to nail down the genre of this one because it has elements of thriller, a little bit of horror. It's very contemporary and like really great and meaningful social commentary about the workplace and publishing specifically. So yeah, I just thought it was a really good time.
I love that.
Great.
And did anyone else listen to the audiobook?
I did. Well, I had the.
You always do
audio-
both, don't
Yeah, I
Right.
do.
Mm.
Did
I
you
wish I
agree?
did now.
I know. Now I want to listen to the audiobook.
I do too.
So what did
Did you agree with her, Vanessa?
Yeah, Vanessa.
Yeah, so I did like the audio as well. And I don't know, you said, Lois, how it's a different experience from reading the book. And I don't know if maybe having the physical and the audio is a little bit different as well. Because what I like about it is it makes me feel like more into the story and like I'm watching a movie, which is why I always do it that way. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was not expecting this book to be the way it was. I thought it was going to be this contemporary mystery book, and we were going to find out, there's something going on. Someone wants to get rid of Nella or whatever. And it was going to be like this mystery unfolding of, who wants her gone and stuff like that. And then this ended up being horror. And I was like, I'm here for it, but I was not expecting that. And then I looked back and I was like, I probably should have expected that because before the beginning of the book, it says Black history is Black horror. And I was like,
Oh.
now this makes sense. This is a horror.
Yeah.
And I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I really, really enjoyed most of it until we got to the end. And then the end, I was just, I wanted more from it. I was a little disappointed. As we got closer and closer to the end, I kept thinking, like, is this going to be a series? Is it going to end off on a cliffhanger or something? Because I was like, there's only a few pages left and it doesn't look like it's going to wrap up very well. And I got to the end and I'm like, okay, 1, that was interesting. 2, I still have so many questions. I was like, I needed at least another 30 pages of the ending because I have so many questions still. And I'm like, it did not wrap up enough for me. And I'm just like, kind of disappointed with how the ending goes. But for the most part, I did really enjoy this, especially the beginning. I feel like the beginning, especially the prologue, hooks you in right from the start. And you're like, okay, what's going on? What did she do? Why is she running? So, yeah.
Well, for
I
a long
agree
time,
with
you're
you,
trying to figure
Vanessa.
out who it is. You're trying to figure out like who the prologue was about
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree a lot with what Vanessa's saying. I was disappointed with the ending too. But overall, I really did like the book. I gave it a 4 as well. And I did like the suspense that was going on and the little notes that she was getting. And me personally, as I'm reading it, I was thinking it was a mystery too. So I'm trying to figure out who's sending her these messages and who is like trying to get rid of her. So that was my main focus when I was reading it. But then when I got to the end, I was like, what just happened? It shouldn't have ended like this. So I got I got the real like disturbing behavior kind of Get Out vibes when I got closer to the end. And I was like, when I got halfway, I was like, please don't let it be like Get Out. Please don't let it be like Get Out. Don't let it be like disturbing behaviors. Please, please. And then when I got to the end, I was like, really? Really? This is what you give me? So I was thinking that it was supposed to be more. I was like Vanessa, I was like, okay, I'm getting closer to the end, but the wrapping up here is not going the way I'm thinking it's going to go. And then I got to the last page and I was like, really? You have broken my heart.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
But overall, I really did like the book. It's a really good book, and I really, really enjoyed it. And like Vanessa, when I went back to the beginning and read that tag in the beginning, I was like, "Oh, you idiot! You should have known it was a horror book."
I didn't even remember that, but
Yeah, it's a quote by Tanana Reeve-Dew.
It's like a quote.
But she's a horror writer.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
I see.
Yeah.
What do you think, Kev?
Yeah, I am really glad that I read this book. I realized I don't think I've ever read a book like this before. So just being able to, like, from the start, I was just really engrossed. I really like how Zakiya set the story up. And all throughout it, I was like really invested. I was like curious. I had no idea what was going on. You know, I did not also expect it to be multi POV. So that was interesting and unexpected. I think I almost do think that if I knew that ahead of time, I might have listened to the audiobook. Just because I do like to hear those distinctive voices, like, a little bit more, because at first I was like, it did take me some time to like kind of switch gears, like, oh, who is this? Is this Johnny? Is this Diana? Like, you know, and then it took me a little bit of time, which it may have been a bit more distinct if I was listening to it. But I haven't rated it yet. It's definitely above a 4 for me. But I need to kind of like sit on it for a little while. I would say I wasn't necessarily disappointed by the ending. I was just expecting like sort of like a overthrow the bad guy type thing and like fix and then like prevent, you know, future instances of these things happening.
Of OBGs?
Yeah. The OBGs, yeah. So I guess like I was expecting it to go a different way. I wasn't necessarily disappointed, but I was like, oh, okay, like this is how the author took the story. And I almost kind of appreciated that, because it's almost like, I don't know, it's a twist without really feeling like a twist, but I was expecting a bit more of like a physical struggle type climax. Like it didn't go there. And like, you know, when she sort of was really at, you know, head to head with Hazel, I was like, oh man, like it's gonna go down. And then like it didn't. I mean, it went down a different way, but I was really intrigued because I had no idea it was gonna end up that way. And I do have to give props to the author for that, for sure. I really liked it though, and I think I might have seen this as going to be a series, a TV series on Hulu or Netflix or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Which I feel like, I don't know if it, I guess it could work as a mini series more than a movie. But I'm really curious to see how it plays out on the quote unquote big screen. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with what you were saying, where like you didn't know what was going to happen, because that was like with me. Like Vanessa had messaged us like, oh yeah, I think they're trying to warn her. I don't, like I think it's someone outside of Wagner trying to warn her. And I was like, oh, I thought it was Hazel, like it was just like, huh, I didn't even think about that. Like, so I just like was completely like thrown, in left field, like with everything. So that was what I really liked. I really enjoyed the book because I didn't know what was going to happen. But because of that, it kind of wasn't what I expected in terms of the thriller suspense aspect. Like I thought it would kind of go more along like a murder route, like more like her life was at stake physically, but it was more like everything out, more of that social, mental, stake. So I thought it was going along the lines of like her life was at stake. So even though that wasn't, it went in a direction that I didn't expect, I was like, well, that's not, author's fault. I just thought that's how the book was going to be. But I still really enjoyed it. I was a little bit confused sometimes. Like I was trying to, that's why I'm glad I write things down for the discussion, because it was switching between the POVs and like Shani and Kendra, and then it talking about Diana. And it was like in the past, and then it would cut to the present with Nella. And then eventually those other POVs caught up to the present. So it was kind of like trying to figure out like, what's, it was just like, it was done in that really good way, because I was like, what's going on? I need to know what's going to happen. So it definitely like kept me reading, and like the chapters like flew. It was actually perfect. This book, like you read like a chapter a day, you finished it. And so it was like, it like flew by for me. But I also really liked, like what Lois said, like the social commentary with like, Black women in the workplace, white microaggressions and all of that. So I thought that all of that was presented really well. And because she worked in a publishing house, at the editorial department, it was like, gosh, like this could kind of really happen, if someone that kind of makes it even more creepy, So yeah, gosh, we already discussed so many great things already in the first one. Oh, so I gave it like a 4. I probably would have rated it like a 4.25. When Goodreads gives us half points, that would be lovely. Half stars.
Yes.
So what were your favorite parts of this book? Any specific scenes or just overall kind of general parts that you guys really enjoyed?
I think my favorite part was the unique way that they were kind of switching their mindset using the hair grease. You would not expect hair grease. And I was like, oh, that's a neat way to actually get into, somebody's mind is, you don't have to poison them or anything. You just slap some grease and style the hair and there you go. Now you're a totally different person.
Now you're a robot.
Now you're a robot. And everything has changed and your mindset's changed. I was like, oh my God, that is like really, really unique that she came up with the hair grease thing. I was like, whoa. I wouldn't have thought of that. So that was my favorite, one of the favorite things that I liked about, the book is that it's the unique way that she kind of introduced them being switched.
Wow, gosh, I just realized that and that was like the first thing that Nella noticed before she even saw Hazel was she smelled the hair grease. I just realized it was at the beginning, that's why it would be good to read it or listen to it again and kind of pick up on those clues that she dropped.
Those clues, because Nella was all about her brown butter and it helping her hair grow and stuff, but Hazel was like, no, you need to try this. And I'm like, oh. I suspected Hazel. I suspected her when she first got introduced into the book. I was like, I don't trust her. There's something about her. I don't trust her. No. I was like, there is something up with this chick.
Yep.
Mhm.
She was on my list as soon as she came into the picture. I was like, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I think she's up to something.
Yeah.
Shout out Just Ava. Hi, Just Ava. She's just lurking. I haven't read the book, but I needed some bookish background noise. Wonderful. Glad to add to that. Thanks for joining us and revealing yourself.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it was funny because she had mentioned like the smells like pretty frequently, and I was just like, oh, she's, you know, describing all the senses. You know, I didn't think anything of it. It's just like I didn't think, oh, she's really fixated on the hair grease smells, you know, and things like that. It's just like so I like that. I really liked the scenes where she really went head to head with Hazel, like when Hazel was like lauding Colin's book, and then like I just picturing in my head like, because now there's just like something, Nella's just like giving her these looks like, hello, like you were supposed to back me up, like now what, you know, and like especially the end scene where they were trying to pick out the cover, and she just goes like, you people are unbleeping believable. And then she was like, oh, wait, I said that out loud. And then she was like, oh, I mean, like, this is so unbelievable. Wow, like, you came up with it. Like, she's just trying to cover it. But, like, those scenes where, like, when she was, like, having the discussion with Colin, like, you could see the, like, internal struggle and conflict, but also, like, the fact that, like, she felt helpless because she wanted to voice her opinion, but then she felt like stuck because she's like, well, if I do that, then, you know, I'm like out of a job. And so I actually really like those scenes because I could kind of relate to Nella in the way that, like, you know, I'm not always the most like outspoken person. And like, especially like when she did say like, yeah, I had some issues with it. Like, I was like, whoo, you know, I was like clapping because I'm like, she, you know, put herself out there, out of her comfort zone, and actually like voiced her opinion, and she stood up for what she believed in. Obviously, then it didn't go, you know, the way that she had planned, but all of those scenes I like, and I had taken quite a few quotes from those scenes too that I'll talk about later, but I enjoyed those ones.
Yeah, same. I loved everything that happened in that office. Like, I didn't realize how much I needed a workplace book like this. I feel like I want, like, it gave me vibes of like missing being in the office because I've been working from home for most of the pandemic, because it was just so realistic. All of the scenes, all of the interactions between like Nella with everybody, like in the chain of people who work within the office, with the receptionist in the building, and like the mailroom guy, like that stuff is so real, and that is stuff that like people you interact with every day, and she's just like totally nailed it. And then like on the other end of it with Richard and Vera, just like all of those interactions were so real and so interesting to me. And then I just love like rooting. I felt like Nella was such an underdog, and you're like rooting for her the whole time and feeling all of her feelings. And that moment in the marketing meeting when Hazel spoke up and said those things, like it was one of those moments where like my heart was in my stomach. I'm like, how dare she? Like, I wanted to like burst in there and get her for that. Like, I just really felt all of those feelings. Like, there could have been way more workplace stuff in this book, and I would have loved it all because it was so good.
Yeah, she kept it fresh. Like, you would think like, oh, okay, the same setting, but she changed things up. I really liked it.
Yeah, I liked all the workplace scenes as well. I really liked the one where and this was a total petty thing, but I'm like, yes, I loved it. I'm here for it. It's when Sophie or Sophia, I don't remember, but she mistakes Nella for Hazel. And wow, you guys are wearing the same color top, and like, my bad. And then at the end, before Hazel leaves, or Nella leaves, she's like, it's fine. And she calls her by, I forget whose name, but she calls Sophie by a different name.
Yes, it's so good.
Yeah, there was like a good amount, like Zakiya did that really well of throwing in like that comedic relief to break the tension. Like there were some times I was like, this is hilarious, you know, or with Malika and everything too. So
The
that
fact that like the first note was Leave Wagner Now was written in comics. It was the font was Comic Sans, and I'm like,
Yes.
I was like, that is amazing, because it's like everybody who's just like who writes knows how we feel about Comic Sans. Yeah, she had humor interspersed through it. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, like, so that was one of the parts that I did like. And then the other part, like there was this specific scene that when I was reading, I was like, oh dang, I need to like see this like in, you know, on TV or in a movie, was when Nella found out, like she's like, oh, Hazel said to bring Owen. I've never mentioned his name before. He's not on Facebook. He's not on social media. And then like, just like Hazel just like slowly turns her head and a small smile creeping across her face, just staring at her. And I just picture her just looking and then smiling. And I was like, okay, this is creepier than any other murder. Just this like slow head turn and smile. Like, oh, that was like the best scene. So it was like super creepy. So I loved that tension that she brought out.
I forgot, did she confront her about that? I was wanting her to see what excuse. I
think she did.
Excuse.
I don't remember what her.
She was just like, yeah, you mentioned him or something like that.
Yeah.
Didn't she like mention it at the event when they were doing the event with Juanita and Nellie like goes up to her afterwards?
Oh,
I think she mentioned it. I think she mentioned it then.
Yeah, I think so.
About.
I don't remember what Hazel's response was.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see if I wrote that down. I don't think so.
I don't think I wrote it in my notes, but.
Oh, my comment on that scene. WTF? So we probably have very similar favorite and least favorite characters. But well, clearly my least favorite characters are Hazel and Richard Wagner. Vera is kind of in there too, but you know, obviously everything that they were trying to do with, oh Heather, where are you? Maybe she accidentally pressed the wrong button. With trying to, you know, make Black women these robots, and then actually getting them kind of on their side. But I think too, like getting in Hazel's, getting it in Nella's head and making her like doubt herself. Like she's like, oh, well, I don't wear my hair like this, or I don't do this. Am I Black enough? Am I whatever? And it was like she shouldn't have to be like questioning herself, you know? So, and so that's what made Nella my favorite character, because she had that strong arc that, you know, she built up that confidence, and she wasn't like a punching bag either. We saw her like fighting in those moments, and she wasn't just like taking it all, but, you know, she was sneaking in Hazel's, you know, house trying to find out the clues. Like she wasn't just like letting Hazel walk all over her and being like, oh, you know, oh, it's nothing. Like she's like investigating. It's not like she wasn't doing things where it's like, oh, look at this dark basement, like at midnight, and like there's blood. Let me go down the stairs. You know, like she wasn't like one of those people. She was more proactive. Yeah. So Heather's that good.
Sorry, my phone is overheating.
Oh, okay. I know. You just fan over it.
Yeah.
I'm holding it up to my iced mango dragon fruit lemonade.
Ooh, that sounds awesome.
That sounds good.
It's attached. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. I just said my favorite and least favorite character, so.
Yeah, mine are kind of the same. I liked Nella more because it was like she was always thinking, always analyzing things, and looking to find out, stuff. And I mean, even though like later on in the book, my phone wanted to fall off. Even though later in the book, it seemed like she kind of gave in to the switching. At the beginning and all throughout the middle of the book, it was like she was showing that she was changing. I did like her arc, but I really liked the fact that she was constantly thinking and analyzing things, and she didn't let the notes scare her off. She just like, well, okay, you're sending me this note, but I got to find out what's going on, because she knew, she had an inkling that something was not right with Hazel, and especially when she overheard Richard on the phone. That's when I knew that Richard was probably a bad guy too. When she overheard that, she was like, okay, I know something's going on now. So she was my favorite. I did not like Vera because I didn't like the way Vera treated Nella once Hazel got there.
Yes.
She wasn't all that great at the beginning, but when Hazel got there, she just it was like Nella had never worked for her for 2 years. And that like really that really ticked me off. I was like, don't treat her like that.
Yes.
She's been here. Hazel hasn't. It was like they just wrapped their arms around Hazel when she came in the door and kind of forgot that Nella had even been there for 2 years. So I was like, okay. So the whole time I was reading, I was like, I wish somebody would get Hazel. But I was like, just get her. But I was like, oh, get rid of her. I just want her gone. And then I think Shauna and Kendra and Diane, they were more of a mystery to me throughout reading the book. You get a little bit of them, and I know Kendra, I think Kendra worked there, but then you throw in Shauna, and it's like Shauna's running away from something, and she gets to land, but their characters were a real mystery, and I wanted more, so I could get to know them a lot better in the story, as supporting characters. But I knew there was a big mystery there, and something happened that was directly related to Hazel, but it really didn't fully come out in the story for me. But overall, Nellie was my favorite character, and I despised Hazel.
I was gonna say I agree. I totally did not like Hazel, did not trust her from the start. I did like Nella. She was my favorite. I connected with her character a lot. And I really enjoyed her until the very end. That epilogue ruined her character for me. I was on board with Nella until that epilogue, which, okay, so now we're getting into spoiler territory. So just for anyone watching, spoilers. So the epilogue, when we see Nella come into the new place and she's become an OBG, I was like, what the heck? I was rooting for you. I was wanting her to fight back and be like, no, this is messed up. I was wanting her to fight against this and be like Shawnee and try to, expose them and what's going on. And then she just ended up joining them. And I was like, really?
Well, but she was going to, wasn't she going to send the article, outing the OBGs? So I actually thought that she didn't become an OBG. And the only reason she didn't send it was because that editor, like,
No,
left.
the editor that came in to replace the one that left is Nella. The person who was sending the article, I think that was Shawnee.
Johnny.
I think that was Shawnee.
Oh, I
Yeah.
got that all mixed up.
Yeah, that was
Okay.
Shawnee.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because I was like, wait, and then okay, I
Yeah.
completely got them reversed somehow. That's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
Completely got
That's
it
why I
wrong.
said Nellie gave in. It's like she gave in too quick
Yeah.
to the whole. That was the only thing I didn't like about her, is that she when she went to the bathroom and she had the whole confront thing with Hazel, she kind of gave in
Mhm.
to the whole switching and becoming the OBG.
And I was like, what bothered me most was like, she didn't have to give in.
Mm-mm.
She could have fought back.
Nope.
Because I understand that the hair cream was sort of changing them and changing their mindset, but she hadn't used it long enough for it to completely change her. She had just started using it at the party when Hazel put it in her hair, when they did their hair at the party. So she wasn't exposed to it long enough for it to truly influence her. And so she could have made a different choice. She could have, gotten away from it and done something else. But she didn't. She willingly went down that route. And I think that's what bugged me the most. Like, I would have understood it more if she was more under the influence of the hair cream.
The grace.
So
Yeah.
maybe that speaks more to the power of what can, that social commentary, like what can happen if those OBGs are there and she's broken down and she's, like those 2 years with her working for Vera just thrown out the window, and someone can just be a yes man and get ahead. And so like maybe it's showing like that can really affect someone so much that they are just like, it said at the end, she said yes to Hazel because she'd never felt truly free. So
and I think part of it too was that Hazel was telling her, oh, well, you've already changed and you haven't even used the hair cream, because she said, oh, well, you apologized to Colin and you this, she was giving her examples of like how she's already conforming and compromising her values. And then Nella was like, you're right, I haven't tweeted anything about like, the Black movement or Black Lives Matter, or like I haven't like been active on social media about any of this stuff that I'm passionate about lately. And so I think she was like, in her head, she's like, I've already changed. And so like it wasn't like she was giving up, but she was like not seeing a way out. Like she couldn't see how she could have get out of it, because she's like, even if I don't use the hair cream, like I'm stuck. And it's really powerful. The ending was hard because I wanted her to break from it, but I understood why she didn't.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah. I think that also goes to show like what, when we're talking about the social commentary in here, what we view is necessary to be successful or happy. I think this does a great job at showing like, we think that we have to, a lot of times we have to conform and be a certain way and seek approval from others in order to be happy in life, in order to be successful. And we see Nella, doing all these things to conform. And, the OBGs are all about conformity. But at the end of the day, you kind of look at it and you're like, but is that really what's going to make you happy? Like, you're changing who you are. You're changing your entire person to fit a mold that other people want you to fit. Is that really going to make you happy? And so, and I think, you know, we see Nella in here. She's been in the publishing industry for 2 years, and she's really trying to move her way up and move ahead. But I can't help thinking, like, you know, she talks about her job and the stress and all of it. But you can't help thinking, you know, if she wasn't so concerned about moving up and getting ahead in this industry, if instead she would have pursued some other opportunities, would she have been much happier? You know, she would have still been herself.
Yeah.
I think
that's true. That's true.
I think it's hard for her. And I think this whole book was like her getting beat down and trying to come back up and then getting beat down again. I think there's only so much a person can take of that. And I think, you know, she's looking to the examples in her life, the people who inspire her. And she's very inspired by Kendra and wanted to kind of live up to Kendra's potential when she was at her peak. But then to know, and I think she does find out that Kendra disappeared because she didn't go along with this OBG scheme. So she's looking at this possible route. Oh, I can, you know, if I don't go this route, like, what if I turn out to be just like Kendra and like fall off the face of the earth? And then you think about like Jesse, the like motivational speaker guy, the guy that she was inspired by, and how he had given in. And she sees him like kind of take this out. And it's, you know, of course, this decision she makes is not the decision any of us who like cared for her in the story would have wanted her to make. But you can totally see why she make it, because she's like, oh, even Jesse, even him, he's taken this out, and look at how happy he is. And it's like she kind of takes the easy choice because this is what she sees.
Well, I didn't know
of her heroes who've either, you know, you see Kendra who didn't take that choice and who was nothing, and then you see Jesse who's like super happy.
Right.
Well, I actually wasn't sure. Like, when we see Jesse in there, it's the first time we see him at the meeting. Before, we're just told about him and we're told how he is and stuff. And so when we see him at the meeting and how you know, he's kind of gone under the influence, I wasn't sure if that was even his choice or if he was tricked into it somehow. Because like with Nella, they didn't come out and tell her, here's what we're doing. She figured it out, but they tried to get her to use the cream and tried to change her thinking and influence her, trick her into doing that, rather than be straight up like, hey, I want to give you a choice. You can do this or do that. And so with Jesse, the way he was described at the beginning and how passionate he was, I was like, it doesn't sound like he would be the type to give in to something like this. And I'm wondering if they had tricked him into using the cream enough till it changed him and he didn't even realize what was going on.
He was an involuntary, is what they call him, right?
What's that?
Right.
Oh, involuntary, right.
Yeah.
We'll have to ask Zakiya. Unfortunately, she can be a guest on book club sometimes, but so I invited her, but she had something else today. So I was like, oh, but maybe I'm sure she has like a contact page and she like answered me. Like, I feel like she would answer us if we asked her that.
Cool.
But yeah, that's a really good question. Oh, what were you going to say?
So do you think, so I'm assuming that with Kendra and Diane, since they were so close and they were working together, Kendra must have said no, but did Diane, I guess, say yes to being an OBG? Because it kind of ruined their friendship. And
I took it more
trying to
as
figure that
Diane was
out.
orchestrating it. Like, I don't think Diane herself
Okay.
was one. I think she was orchestrating the whole thing with Richard because they're like together-ish.
Two peas in a
Gross.
pod.
That was
Mhm.
my impression as well.
Two peas in a
Yeah.
pod. Yeah, I was trying to figure that out with Diane because I was like, okay, was she one of them or was she just working with? Because didn't Vera kind of know what was going on as well?
Mhm.
Wasn't they like all in
Yeah,
it
she was in on
together?
it too.
So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe Diane was the one that was supposed to change Kendra, and it didn't go the way she wanted it to go.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, if
So
you
then
go back
Kendra
and
ended up-
read, yeah, if you read the first section of the book, Kendra's running away and she's scratching at her scalp because she's got that stuff on. So,
okay,
like,
so I was thinking,
they
okay,
started working on her and she ran away from it because she didn't want anything to do
okay,
with
that's
it.
what.
Wow.
Okay, because that's what I had wrote down in my notes. I was like, okay, I think Kendra's running away because she does not want this. So, okay, I was
Yeah.
thinking on the right. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I just wonder because I was thinking that.
hmm
Sounds like an interesting book, just Eva says, or Ava. Yes. Very interesting. You should go read it still. You
Yeah.
can still read it.
Yes.
That makes sense now, because I was still, after I finished it, I was still confused about whose point of view we were reading in the prologue. It's like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I still don't know who this was.
Yeah, I had to go back. Trying to
Yeah.
figure it out too.
Yeah. I kind of figured it was Kendra, but I was like, okay, is she running away because of them trying to warp her mind? Or and at first I didn't think it was Diane trying to switch
Wait,
her.
and that,
but
and it's
apparently-
and also what she said in that article.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and that's what made me think it was her
Mhm.
at the beginning.
So there's still hope. They're out there trying to stop the OBGs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny does have that email. She didn't have anyone to send it to, but it's still ready to
Right.
send to
She
someone.
still got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll write a
Yeah, you know-
novella sequel.
I was thinking about that this morning, the whole Shawnee thing at the end and how she was ready to like publish this, and then Nella comes in and I'm like, this girl just needs to put that out on a blog, send it to another news source, stop
Mhm.
trying to publish
That's
through the editorial system that has done you wrong,
wrong.
and just
Mhm.
publish it yourself at this point.
Yes.
Someone needs to get the word out. At least, there's someone hopefully still trying to fight. I did find it weird, and I don't know if any of you guys got this. I was really intrigued by Kendra. I definitely wanted more, and
Mhm.
I don't know, what happened to her at the end of it. She got to New York and she was trying to save Nella, and then she kind of falls off a cliff. And I was looking again in my book today, what happened with her, and not a whole lot. So, and it took her, Nella's situation to finally come back to New York and try to confront what was going on with Richard and Diana and the OBGs. And I'm part of me, the hopeful part of me, and that's why I like the ending of this book, because it gives you hope and things to think about. I would hope that Kendra is out there trying to get a hold of Shawnee and trying to expose this. Maybe they're going to expose it on their own. So
Yeah.
I don't
hope
know.
so.
I try to be optimistic.
Heather says she has to cut
so.
out. She's got to go. She's making the cash money flow with weekend shifts. So thanks for going in between shifts, Heather.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
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 So what did you all think about Lynn? Because Lynn was kind of confused, and it was she wanted to help stop the stuff, but then when Shawnee made a move, she wanted to stop her from doing anything. So her character kind of confused me too. I do want more of Kendra.
I don't remember who was Lynn.
I think her name is Lynn.
She's the
one
leader.
that Shawnee.
Yeah.
She's the leader of the
she's the leader of it all.
Resistance or whatever.
The resistance. That's right.
Mhm.
Yeah. So she came in and out, but
Mhm.
I guess Shawnee makes it to her, but she's trying to keep a leash on Shawnee, don't go do this and don't go do that. But when Shawnee makes an appointment to meet with Nella, Lynn's what did you do? You shouldn't have. She's telling her that she shouldn't have went to meet her.
Mm-hmm. And then she
then
was like
Shawnee-
afraid of
Yeah, and then
everything
Shawnee
falling
gets grabbed.
apart. Right. Yeah, I think she was afraid of everything falling apart and
Mhm.
didn't want her to risk it, at least in that way. But yeah, I don't have too
Yeah,
many notes
to
about
me, like
her.
it
Yeah,
sounded.
because I'm sorry, Lois.
Yeah, she was like.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it sounded like Lynn was trying to play some long game on the OBG thing, and like she had some kind of master plan. But like obviously she's taking too long. Shawnee thought it. She didn't want to like
Mhm. Yeah.
lose Nella to the movement or whatever you call it. So. But yeah, I found that stuff to be pretty confusing too. I found the whole thing with Shawnee to be a bit confusing until you find out later
Yes.
that she's
Mhm.
like a part of this resistance, and you find out later that she was sitting there at the hair event at the hair cafe, and then I'm like, whoa, wait, that was her. She was there. But I feel like those early Shawnee chapters are really like random. It's so random. You're
Yeah.
like, who? Why? What is
Right.
she?
Mhm.
It's
And I'm like,
really
Yeah.
hard
it
to
comes
know.
together in the end.
Yeah, it's hard to know where it's going and to connect the dots, and it like that's why like when it kind of goes back to the present, and then you realize, oh, they're Kendra or Kenny's like sending these letters, and they're trying to contact her, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's because at first I'm like, why are they talking about this girl going to like Curl Central, this hair salon? Like, what is
Mhm.
this? And like I just, it was in the back of my mind because I was just like, I don't know where this is going, so I don't know the importance of this, So when you find
Yeah.
out later, then it's like, oh, okay, it all makes sense.
Because isn't Hazel the one that ruined Shawnee's life too?
Yeah.
But she was
Yeah.
going by Eva or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
that's
Mhm.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you kind of find that out. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's when I realized that Shawnee, she was trying to stop it because it kind of ruined her life as well. Because I guess when she
Yeah.
decided not to do it, Hazel must have did something to ruin her life because she was running away, trying to come to the resistance to try to help them stop Hazel from, taking somebody else. But yeah, those Shawnee.
And you find
I mean, some of Kendra's chapters were funny too. Were kind of strange too. Until she decides to come to New York, and like you said, Lois, she just kind of disappears after that.
Yeah.
On the pages, I was like, I want to know what happened to Kendra.
Maybe she's doing her own, like she's
Right.
branching
Well-
away from Lynn and doing her own, like, okay, like I don't, like we need to move faster, so I'm gonna do my own thing and maybe start her own kind of resistance, maybe.
I had so many.
Yeah, because she was. Okay.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I had so many questions towards the end, which is again why I was like kind of I wanted more. I wanted another at least 30 pages because I had so many questions. I was wondering like you guys said, what happened to Kendra and what's gonna happen to Shawnee now? And then, obviously with the epilogue with Nella changing and becoming an OBG, I was wondering what does that mean for her relationship with Owen and Michaela? Like, do they know? Is she still with them? Is she still with Owen? Is she still friends with Michaela? Has she cut them off and moved away? Like, what? I feel like there's so much stuff that didn't get answered for me.
Answered.
And I'm like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have something to say?
I took it as she just cut those guys off. I don't think I was gonna say earlier, Malika is my favorite character, and I don't think Malika would have put up with any of that stuff with Nella changing into an OBG.
Oh
yeah, she was awesome. She was like everybody needs a friend like her, and I don't think she would have let Nella do it. Especially after finding out all the stuff she found out at the end. Like, yeah, I would have loved to know what happened to their friendship because I highly doubt it went into her. Maybe Malika joins the resistance when she finds out about all of that and tries to fight against it. That's what I'm gonna hope for.
Yeah.
And maybe there'll be another book. Maybe there'll be another book, and then Michaela will connect with Kendra, and then they'll fight. to try to stop all of it from happening.
Yeah, and save
that
Nella.
would be interesting. And then they go to save, we're going to save Nella, and they go to save Nella. That would be so awesome.
That would be interesting. I feel like she would still be with Owen because like sometimes they were, you know, their struggle was that like she, you know, was staying up late trying to finish books, like trying to hustle and do all this stuff. And now as an OBG, she doesn't technically have to try as hard. So, you know, maybe that would mean that she can, I don't know.
But she's also changing. And so who she was when she met him, when they started their relationship, she's no longer that person. So is he, that's why I'm like wondering, is he still with her? Does he know what's going on? Or does he just like think, oh, something's weird going on, she's changed, and then they broke up? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. James popped in to say hi. Hello. Oh man, we're almost near the end, so let's quickly talk about some of our favorite quotes or lines.
I don't think I have that many.
Ooh.
I just want to throw out a quick another Malika shout out because, like I said, I loved her character, and one of my favorite moments was like all of the backup she provided to Nella at that party at Hazel's house with all those strange OPG or OPGs in the making, and Malika was just keeping it real the whole time. And when they're introducing her, and she's talking to Hazel, and let me see, what page is this? This is page 305. And Malika's talking about Hazel's house, and she says, "It's lovely," Malika added flatly. And Hazel says, "Thank you. Melanie, right?" And Malika says, "Close, but a little blacker." So I like that one a lot. Malika.
Yeah.
Melody.
Yeah.
And it was just a lot of fun, like her being like, "Please don't leave me down here with these people." I feel like Malika goes out on a lot of limbs here for Nella, and it is not reciprocated. But that's what good friends do, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's very true. I really liked, this was like one of the first quotes that I noted was on page 19, where it says, "So as Nella considered why she distrusted needles and pins so much, she also considered what Jesse had said about white people who went out of oh, she's mentioning Jesse here. Oh my gosh. Who went out of their way to present diversity. With heightened awareness of cultural sensitivity comes great responsibility. If we're not careful, diversity might become an item people start checking off a list and nothing more, a shallow, shadowy thing with but one dimension." And then she goes on to say how Chartrecia was less than one dimensional. And so that like really stuck out to me because, you know, that's just the thing that, you know, with Vanessa's diversity series, like trying to make sure that you're writing diverse characters correctly and that you're, you know, having, you're doing things right, cultural appropriation, you're not being offensive, and you're writing the story that you need to be told. And so I think that's an important thing as like an author and a writer is, you know, like, oh yeah, make sure you're not checking diversity off a list. Like, why are you having this character with a disability? Why is this character, you know, Black or Asian or something? Why are you giving this character an accent? So I really resonated with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I marked too, Holly.
Well, that's still yours, sorry. Me too.
That's okay. Yeah, that was one of the ones I had.
Do you have another one, or Vanessa, do you have one?
Yeah. I have a couple. So the first one that I marked was where it says, "That had to be done. Any confidence she felt from the sunshine and the perfectly timed train dispersed. You gotta be twice as good. Remember, she chided herself. And so that just reminded me of like something that gets said a lot. I feel like in the Black community, just like you have to be twice as good to get half of what they've got. And so I like that one. And then the other one is when she is, when Hazel comes to the office and she's talking to Nella and they're talking about, what it's like to work there. And it says, Hazel didn't flinch. She just nodded. I kind of had a feeling, she said after a moment. And tell me, how do they feel about Black people in these parts? Nella looked around to make sure no one happened to be lingering by. I'll just put it this way, she said, widening her eyes dramatically. They don't see color here at Wagner. And so I like that one because I'm like, that's another one, I hear people say a lot. It's like, I don't see color. And it's like, do you realize what you're saying when you say that statement? Do you really? And so it's like, I'm always like, I get the intention with that. I get the sentiment and the intention with saying I don't see color. But even that has its issues that I don't think people realize. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah, I marked that one about you got to be twice as good, as well. And yeah, there were a lot of powerful. I think Harris had so many like powerful lines, but then also just like the scenes and the themes and everything. Like the bigger picture was so powerful. So I'm really, really glad that we read this book and that Lois had recommended it, because I wouldn't have put it on the radar.
It was a great recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm so excited I read it too. And there's a lot of buzz about it right now. And so it's fun to like be a part of it and hear everybody else talking about it too.
Right. Yeah, and then it was the book club pick for Barnes and Noble, and I think it won an award too, which isn't on the cover of the one I have. And then like maybe we can like talk about the show or movie when it eventually comes out. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of book covers covering it.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
that's one thing I haven't done is like read like the booktube reviews like before talking about the like going through the discussion, but that might be interesting to do. So I will be respectful of people's time. So thank you so much to my lovely co-host and special guest Lois for joining us. Please join us for our book club pick for August, which we will discuss at the end of the month, which is The Taking of Jake Livingston, which we're on like our creepy vibes. So
yes, please.
And I've already started reading it, and it's like I'm like, oh my gosh, this is intense. So we will also have a really good discussion. And it's short too, so read it because it won't take you that long. Support a debut author, LGBT. All right, well, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you on the interwebs. Okay, bye.
Bye.